Hello guys, now we did see this in another video a bit ago, but this is a very, very rare and unique treat. We like to call this the ship's bell clock, and it's very unique in its strike pattern. I'm not going to play with its hour strike, I'm just going to let it do 4 o'clock because it's so old. We don't know how old, but it's very rare, I think. It's American, we know that much. Seth Thomas. And it's got a unique strike pattern. As you can see there, you've got a couple of bells. And what happens on the quarters is sort of a interesting kind of noise. You get 1 for the quarter, 2 for the half, 3 of those pairs of ding-dongs for the quarter 2, 4 for the hour, followed by a strike on this fellow here, which is out of the way, it's moved. But there's a coil, and it strikes that coil. It's moved too far up, but there's a coil there you can see.
The time is 4 o'clock.
And we're going to hear it in a second. I'll let all them finish. It's a bit behind now because I moved it so I can stagger it. I can let you hear it. That's the big one, you've met that before. But you can see the coil there. And that hammer, you get the free... I'll try and focus on the movement as it does it. Here we go, look. 1, 2, 3, 4. Onto the coil. And it brings the hammer up, ready to hit the top of the next hour. That's unusual because most don't do that, but this one does. As you can see, the pendulum is absolutely huge, and there's barely any room between where my finger is and the bottom of that is literally almost touching the base. Pretty impressive. And this was repaired. It's a very heavy pendulum as well.
Yeah.
And this has just been nicely repaired the other week. It's unique because it's rare because it's a 3-train movement. And most ship's bells are only 2-train movements because they don't have that second roll of that coil there. It's kind of a cross between a bim bam or a ting tang or whatever you want to call it and a normal hour striker. So I really don't know what sort of chime pattern you'd call this. We're going to call it a ship's bell because although it isn't a ship's clock, because obviously a pendulum and something like that would just sort of not work. You can see the height of it. Very, very tall. That's its door. It's like it looks like a wall clock, but it's actually not on the wall. You can see that it's mounted on the side. We don't know where it's come from. Sam's had it ages. And this is the best I've ever seen it run. When I first saw it, it was dead. And that's why I was hoping to get a video of it.
It's the best I've ever seen it done.
Absolutely beautiful design. And it's got something about it that makes you just go ooh when you see it. It's just absolutely phenomenal. I've got one in my collection. If you ever look back at my videos, go right back to the beginning of my channel, and there's one called the Unusual Brass Fronted Chime Clock. And I said I thought it was Chinese scrap. It's actually not, and I'll be covering a video on it soon. I've just had it restored, and I found out that it's actually American and probably nearly as old as this one. It was made in the turn of the 20th century, we think. We don't know about this one in particular, but we know it's an old one and it's unique. It's very, very strange because I've looked up ship's bells on YouTube and I've never seen one of these. I've never seen a clock like that. If anybody knows what this is, we'd like to know. I've only ever seen this one. I'm honoured to actually be able to video this, because you might not see another one of these. But if anybody knows exactly what this is, let us know, because we're calling it a ship's bell clock, but technically it's not, because it would have to be a platform escapement or something that can't be affected by rolling seas, and clearly that's a pendulum, so it could. But if anybody could define what sort of clock you class this as, because we're curious. It's definitely a bracket clock, because it's got the height. So it's definitely a bracket clock, because it's a very tall bracket clock. It stands heads above the rest. I like to call them a tower clock, but I think the proper term for those is bracket clock. But I love them. If you look at that, and look at the one next to it, they're very similar, but the Seth Thomas is a lot taller. And for comparison, you look at that one, the Seth Thomas, and look up at the wall clock, you can see that it's a very similar design in that it's in a tall tower. So if anybody could tell us what kind of clock this is, what you would define it as in terms of its capabilities. We know it's quarter striking, but it's not a melody strike, it's a bell strike quarters with hour strike gong, which is unique. And I'll be putting that in the note in the liner for it. We're putting that in the liner details. So I will leave you there till next we shall see you.